Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're your hosts. I am Justin.
And I'm Challee.
This podcast is a space where we explore practical ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit to create a happier and healthier life.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you are experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, please seek support from a licensed therapist or a qualified healthcare provider.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today, our topic that we're going to be talking about is self-help versus professional help and kind of understanding the differences. So, starting us out, thinking about some different forms of self-help could be reading a book, watching some YouTube videos, listening to a podcast.
Yay!
Some overall things that we might do for wellness. It could also be taking a course. Journaling could be another really good one. In general, probably self-help is going to be the things that we're doing independently with the thought of trying to be more well or take care of ourselves. Can you think of any other forms of self-help?
Trying to think of, so I think of self-help as a lot of self-care.
Ooh,
Is that
yes.
okay?
Yeah.
So just making time for yourself, doing things for yourself. I often suggest to clients that they take themselves out on a date and treat themselves the way they would like to be treated on a date.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you had someone do it, and have they ever talked about how it went?
No.
No?
I'm waiting for it.
I want to hear the response because
Mhm.
in the thought of self-help, it's the way that we treat ourselves is then going to be the way that we expect to be treated.
Mm.
If we treat ourselves like crap, we're going to accept being treated like crap.
Mm.
So the better that we treat ourselves, if we model that for ourselves, we might be the first one that's ever treated us well.
Yes.
And we have to.
A lot of
So-
times it's after a breakup, or if they're, thinking of getting into a new relationship. I will say, what is a perfect date? What is stopping you from just doing that? Take yourself out on a date. I know it sounds weird.
And yes, maybe it does sound weird, but there can be a really big impact from that because many times we're uncomfortable treating ourselves well.
Mhm.
You know, my self-talk has been terrible in the past. And a way that I've been able to change that is being more mindful about what I'm telling myself. So if I think of going on an ideal date, then I would be able to then model that for myself and then take that in.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before, but I am gonna be curious to see if anybody has done it and what their response was to it because I've heard that before.
Yes, you got to treat yourself. Plus, we don't spend a lot of time or money or energy on ourselves. Like if I want to do something, I'm very I don't know if I have the funds. I don't know if it's in the budget, but if it's something that I want to take my husband to, oh yeah, I'll make it work. I got money in reserve for that. I will definitely do that. So sometimes just treating yourself.
Many of us are so much more willing to do for someone else than we are ourselves. And that really shows many times what our relationship with ourselves is, and maybe we don't value that relationship as much. But in order, going back to the piece of loving ourselves first, it doesn't mean that we can't enter a relationship or that we have to put everything else on hold. But the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we love ourselves is going to really show up in the way that we treat ourselves and then sometimes the way that we treat other people. Do you think that there can be some benefits to self-help?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You're helping yourself.
Yeah.
Of course there's benefits.
In being able to create a better self-talk, because I know for me, goodness, the things that I used to say to myself, I wouldn't share with anybody else. So something that I had picked up a few years ago was if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, then why would you say it to yourself?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
I have phrased it a little bit differently
Okay.
because I work with a lot of moms who, being a mom is hard. And so they will say negative things about themselves. And I'm like, would you ever say something like that to your child? She was like, no, of course not. Then why are you saying it to your child's mother? So I phrased it that way.
Yeah.
I like that one too, though.
Yeah, because so many times we're quick to beat ourselves up and we're quick to be negative about ourselves. And if we maybe didn't do something the right way or we didn't show up the way that we wanted to, we just berate ourselves for it, where we give other people grace all the time. If someone else is late, we're saying, oh, it's not a big deal.
Hmm.
When we're late, we're finding every reason that we messed up and of why it happened and how we can correct it. Sometimes it's just simple and we can move past it. It was a
Hmm.
mistake.
Yeah.
So, other benefits to self help is being able to have it be something that is for ourselves. I think so many times in this world, we're doing so much for everybody else in our lives
Mm.
that we don't really have anything to ourselves. I can relate. I don't think I had a hobby until maybe the past year because I was just always focused on school or work or this or other people. That when I was asked, like, what do I like to do? I was like, "Oh, I like to work. School's pretty good, but I had nothing."
I'm still trying to find a hobby.
Yeah.
I'm really like I tried to get into like reading and I don't know. I can't find a hobby. If anyone has any suggestions, cuz I get stuck with that question too, where it's like, what do you enjoy doing? And I'm like, spending time with my family is wonderful, but like just myself, I don't really have any hobbies that I'm working on.
And I appreciate you sharing that because you are in the role that you are as a therapist, talking about hobbies and talking about self-care and just showing up as human, that it can still be really hard to do that.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. No, it's not that I don't want a hobby. I've tried a couple different things and I've been trying since I finished school,
Mm,
which was a few years ago now. But school is such a big part of your life. And then being a mom is such a big part. But I am trying to find my own identity outside of work and outside of being a mom. So it's a work in progress.
So finding our identity can be something that shifts at different parts of our life and can really make us feel lost. That's where self-help can be really important, is to, or self-care can be so important, is to be able to find the parts of ourselves that we still really like, because so many times we're in a role of a parent or a specific job or so many different things that we identify as. What are we left with if that goes? Children move out of the house, or sometimes we lose an employment or a career. What are we beyond that? And
Mm,
that can be so hard to identify. And it really is tough when we're in a crisis when that happens.
yeah.
Okay. So, thinking about making a little bit of a shift, thinking about professional help, what would you consider to be professional help?
Hello. Therapy, psychology, psychiatry.
Groups?
Ooh, groups for
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
So, some benefits to professional help is it's going to be a little bit more personalized. You're able to have that conversation with the person that you're working with. You can get that validation and know that you're doing it in a way that is helpful. You can also be held accountable.
I was going to say accountability is a
Yeah.
huge one. That's what I struggle with
Yeah.
is keeping myself accountable.
So having that accountability,
Yep.
having a opportunity to discuss what's going on, so
Hmm.
then it's not just us trying our best and not having any validation. So it can be really beneficial to have that person in our corner,
Hmm.
having that cheerleader.
Yes. But in the same aspect, also having someone that's going to call us out.
And those blind spots.
Yes, because self help is great and wonderful. But if you're completely blind to certain things, it's really hard to see those things if you don't have someone from the outside looking in.
Hmm.
So my clients know, like they can tell me a story and I will be honest with them and tell them if I think they maybe have some blind spots. And I hear a lot like, "Oh, I never really thought of it like that, or I never looked at it like that." Well, yeah, you're getting a different perspective on things and it's a non-friendly perspective. So it's not, you're asking your bestie because they will always support you. They will. If one of my clients came in and was talking some crazy talk about their ex, we would reframe, reevaluate. My bestie doesn't. I'm like, yeah, girl. Yeah. Whatever you say. So it's important to have that separate person that is a professional that can tell you what you might be missing, what you might not be seeing.
Yeah. And it comes with the best intentions, right? Especially if we're participating in self help. We want to be doing the things to get better, but sometimes those things are just outside of what we can see because maybe it's generational. Maybe it is
Mm,
something that has existed in our life and we don't know any other way. It doesn't mean that our way is right or wrong and professional help is right or wrong. It's being able to get a different perspective, being able to do with that what you need to be beneficial for you. I think it is so common that we are able to look at the things that other people are doing and make some level of judgment if it's helpful or beneficial or not. And we don't have that same eye for ourselves because we're human. We just don't. Our brain doesn't work that way. Some benefits to professional help also is it's going to be solution focused, where kind of as with sharing with the bestie about something going on, we may not get a solution or a way to move forward. We may get stuck in that venting, which is common and it's good to be able to get those things out, but sometimes we can get stuck in that cycle. So professional help can help us move forward and move past that because maybe the people in our life haven't moved past that yet. Maybe
yeah.
they're stuck repeating that cycle as well. Can you think of any barriers to getting professional help?
Gosh, yes.
Yeah.
um, Insurance and coverage and stuff like that. Obviously, professional help costs money.
Yeah.
So that can be a big barrier. Transportation to get to therapy can be an issue. Obviously, there's a lot of telehealth providers,
Mhm.
but that also comes with its own level of barriers as far as like reliable internet, privacy.
That's a safe place to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For self-help, we can do a little bit more on our own terms. At
Mhm.
times we can read a book.
Ooh, on our
Sit
own
with it.
time too.
Yeah.
Because when we're seeking professional help, we have to go off of the professional's schedule and off of their hours, whereas self-help is much more self-paced.
Yeah, self-paced and being able to say that, okay, I can make time this day, and this day for the self-help can be a way that we provide structure to ourselves, where with professional help, that structure and schedule might be a little bit more provided.
Mhm.
So seeing what works for us. And this is going to also come down to personal preference as well of what we can take on at a certain point in time. When we are looking at self-help versus professional help, it's going to be important to think about the stigma piece that we had covered in a different episode,
Oh, yeah.
but that might be a barrier that is preventing us from getting professional help and us saying, oh, well, it's not that bad.
Mhm.
It's not that bad. I don't need to do that. It doesn't have to be a threshold.
On the flip side,
Yeah.
self-help can also mean self-diagnosing.
Ooh.
Dr. Google, which is never recommended because with anything, mental health, physical health, literally anything, if you type it into Google, like you're gonna find out you're dying. You have a headache? Oh, it was nice knowing you. I mean, really. So if you are trying to Google your mental health symptoms, you're going to get feedback that is terrifying. I've tried it, like just to see, I'm going to Google these symptoms and see what Google tells me. Don't do it. But if you're not seeing a professional, that's you turn to Google. And then it can be very disheartening where all of a sudden you have some very intense mental health disorder that you probably don't really have, but Google says you have. And then, you spiral, you label yourself, you go down the rabbit hole of self-diagnosing. So don't do
And
that.
that's not beneficial.
No.
Doesn't help us. It can actually provide almost more barriers in that sense. It is one thing to be informed and maybe identify what we're experiencing, but staying away from that self-diagnosing piece or putting a label on it
Yes.
because a label can be just as harmful as not taking care of it at all.
Yep.
So putting ourselves in a box, goodness, if we get to a point that we feel like, wow, I'm the only one that's going through this and I'm untreatable because Google has told us that it's something terrible and awful, then we're not even going to attempt to do any part of it. The self-help, the professional help, we're going to think that we're just lost
Yeah.
in this.
Google says I'm doomed, so I'm doomed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Goodness. That can be a really big piece of the part that prevents us from making any changes. We just kind of psych ourselves out from it and think that it's not going to work. I love that piece.
I've had people come in and, during the intake, you'll ask, do you have any prior diagnoses? And they will come out with some pretty intense diagnoses. We're talking a lot of different, really intense ones. And then obviously my follow-up question is, who diagnosed you and when, and they're like, oh, it's not an official diagnosis. I just know. I diagnosed myself. And it can be a really big barrier
Yeah.
to that. So, yes.
Our brain is just a really fun place that sometimes once we learn about something, we might then start doing it or try to make it fit. Like if we have looked up specific criteria, we might then start to, oh yeah, that fits. And then we might make the problem bigger too.
Our brains are amazing things. And yes,
They want to identify patterns.
they do. So please don't self-diagnose. It will not go well.
That can be a big piece of that professional help, is being able to get in and kind of see really what we have going on and then what are going to be those helpful skills, those helpful coping techniques, being able to bounce it off of someone else. Sometimes just hearing our thoughts out loud can make us take a step back and be like, oh wow, that's not actually what I was going through, but I tried to fit in this box.
Yep.
Yeah. Any barriers that you think with self-help other than the diagnosis piece or it maybe
Accountability, that's a big one.
And this being said, both are great.
Well, I was going to say, so it's not either or.
Yeah.
Because professional help, you see your therapist once a week, maybe once every other week. But if you're not doing the self-help piece in between sessions, the sessions are going to be pretty much pointless. So I feel like it's not an either or. It's those two things really have to work together. So the professional piece, they can help guide you because you named off a ton of different things. Like that was overwhelming for me because it was like, there's journaling, there's this, and I'm just sitting here like, I can't do any of that. So getting started with a professional, getting to know you and saying like, try this. Just try it for a week and come back and let me know is a lot better than just picking and choosing. Also, like, I have no idea how to journal on my own. Like I can Google, I guess, journal prompts. And again, Dr. Google is going to give me journal prompts, but having specific tailored things to do in between sessions is much more beneficial. But you have to do it, which is where the self-help piece comes in. So those two things really work together. I personally feel like you can't have one or the other. You really should do both. But that's just me. But I do both. Yeah. So because I can't do the self-help. I have no accountability, guys. I'm awful. Right. All through school. Like I procrastinated awful. If I don't have somebody checking in on me, self-help goes to the back burner. But if I know I have to report back, I'm like, all right, I got to do this because I don't want to go to therapy and tell them I wasted their time and didn't do any of the homework. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point because they're back to what we talked about before is many times we push ourselves off and we do for other people. So then if it's making dinner, getting home, making dinner, doing this, that, and the other, that's probably going to take priority over maybe having a half an hour to journal. We're going to find a lot of other things that we can find more productive or that we might find more useful because we put ourselves on the back burner so many times because we're good. We're fine. We're doing it. We might be doing it, but how well are we doing it?
Right.
So.
Yes. Oh, I like that too. Like I could be journaling and just completely just doing it. I don't know how you journal. I'm not a journaler. Having somebody to check in with and be like, this is what I've been doing. It would be nice if to hear like, that's actually counterproductive. Try it this way instead of I've been counterproductively journaling for 3 months. So having that little check-in of like, okay, I'm still on the right path. I haven't veered off.
What a good point. When we're thinking about the self-help piece, what if we're doing things that are not effective for what we have going on?
Ooh, for example, taking yourself out on a date is a wonderful, wonderful thing. However, if you do that every night, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to treat yourself every single day because you've heard that it's good self-help, then you're going to run into more issues. So that's where that professional piece is of like setting realistic goals. Like treat yourself to dinner once in the next couple of weeks. Between now and your next session in 2 weeks, I want you to take yourself out to dinner one time.
So having realistic goals.
Yes.
Also. is going to be a really big piece that comes. I know, I mean, speaking from experience, I have unrealistic expectations for myself.
Mhm.
And then when I don't meet those unrealistic expectations, I then feel disappointed
Yeah.
or I'm frustrated with myself. And when the work that I've done could have been really, really good, but I didn't give myself credit for it.
Mhm.
So then counterproductive, right? Something that could have really been such a big benefit, I discounted because I didn't think I did it the right way. I know for me, I did this with meditation for so long. I was trying to meditate and I would sit down, I would do it. And then while I was doing a guided meditation, I had convinced myself how I was doing it wrong. That wasn't helpful. I found every reason that I wasn't doing it the right way. So having that additional checkpoint to
Mhm.
say, hey, what you're doing is working, or maybe we can improve it and do something different. So then we're having the best outcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're not getting stuck in a loop.
Yeah. Our brain loves cycles,
They
it
do.
loves patterns and cycles. So
Mm.
it makes sense that we might find ourselves falling into that.
Yep.
And then we don't know how to get out of it because we're used to being in it. Any other pros or cons of self help?
Can't think of any.
And then what about any other pros or cons of professional help?
I mean, professional help for those that come to see me, obviously a pro is you can see me, which is pretty awesome. I don't think I can't think of any others off the top of my
Okay.
head.
When we're talking about this topic, and something to keep in mind is that what we're doing for where we're at is better than doing nothing. So being able to have some of the insight or some of the knowledge that we want to do something different is a huge place to start. And it's being able to get more comfortable with showing ourselves attention, showing ourselves that love, and then we might build confidence to take that next step in self help or professional help. But being able to just remind ourselves of what we're doing, as long as we're doing something with good intentions to try and make ourselves even a little bit better, that is going to build over time. Even if we're 1% better each day, that's still progress. So, not striving for perfection, trying to remind ourselves not to set unrealistic expectations,
Oof, yep.
but to be able to give ourselves grace and compassion where we're at. And it might be in just something super small, like reading a couple pages in a book or journaling or making time to go out with our friends and be able to actually talk about the things that we have going on rather than just saying we're fine. So it could be in really small and fun ways to be able to do this. But just reminding ourselves to give ourselves grace,
Hmm.
have compassion.
But taking that first step and saying, I need some type of help is the hardest, but most important step. I feel like that's the hardest. Once you can get through that step and you can make the decision to get the help, I don't want to say like it's easy after that, but that really is the hardest step is making that choice.
It puts us in momentum. It
Yes.
gives us that start to do something. So
Yes.
admitting that, I mean, goodness, that is with anything. I mean, we can talk about addiction, we can talk about mental health, but taking that first step and doing something, that's going to be your hardest part because we don't know what's on the other side. We know what it's like sitting here not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and the unknown because we don't know what's on the other side. And our brain convinces us that we have to stay where we're at. When we're talking about self help versus professional help, being able to strive for progress,
Mm-hmm.
not perfection.
Oh, I love that.
It's one of the biggest things. I know for me, I'm my own biggest critic, and I feel like many people can relate to that. So just being able to get comfortable with the fact that progress is steps in the right direction.
Yes, setting realistic goals and understanding that you want progress, not perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start using that.
Progress, not perfection.
Beautiful.
And there are so many different resources now available. And even just like tip of the iceberg, being able to read a book or to, if maybe we don't want to read a book, like being able to go on YouTube or listen to a podcast or do some of those different things can all be steps in that can warm us up to that next thing that we're going to do. And we might find some really good skills along the way. And it's a
Mhm.
toolbox. So we're adding different things to the toolbox. It's not a one size fits all. And so sometimes we might try something and it doesn't work. It's important to try that next thing
Mhm.
and not admit defeat after that first thing because there's so many different things out there. It can be so overwhelming. Like you said,
Mhm.
I rattled off a bunch of different ones. And that can be really overwhelming. So taking one step at a time, being kind to ourselves and the people around us, our relationships and our relationship with ourselves will really benefit from engaging in this. So if anybody can try and share any other ideas that have worked for them or ways that we've been able to get through that first step of wanting to make that change, please share with us. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode.
Yes. Thank you guys. We'll see you next episode.